Hello there everybody, welcome to another Inktober video. Of course by this time it's November, Inktober is well and truly over, but I recorded pretty much all of my Inktober drawings, and what I intend to do is just, upload those videos. Don't know whether anyone will care or not, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So we're starting off with day 9. The other two videos that we had were day, what was it again? Yeah, day 1 to 4, and then day 5 to 8. And we're starting here with day 9. As you can see, I drew them on paper first with what do you call it, oil pastel and coloured pencil, and then I transferred that over to another sheet with graphite transfer paper so that I could do the finished thing on Bristol board with marker pens, which is how I did most of the pictures that I did during Inktober. And as you can see, the word today was fro. When I say the word today, I don't mean today when I'm recording this. I mean today as in when this video was made of me drawing this man throwing at that man. And now we're jumping straight into day 10. Day 10 was hope, and the thing that I was thinking for hope was a big. I was just kind of thinking, really what I hope for is, I guess I hope that humanity manages to continue to exist. Basically, I don't like the idea that we're gonna kill ourselves, we're gonna wipe ourselves out with global warming or nuclear war or any of those kinds of things, and I like the idea of the type of future that you see in science fiction movies. I kind of like that idea of the future, and I think it would be really cool if humans managed to get to that future at some point. So that's what my hope is. So I decided to draw that, basically draw like a big spaceship going off into space. And this spaceship was kind of partly based on like an old steamship type of thing. I quite like the idea of kind of using like old things to kind of inspire new things, so doing like a kind of a new spaceship but based on like an old ship type model. Obviously those square windows on the front and that big square bit on the front would mean that this spaceship would not be very aerodynamic, but it doesn't really matter if you're aerodynamic or not when you're in space, does it? Although, does that mean that this spaceship would have to be taken up into space by a larger spaceship? How would this spaceship leave Earth, I wonder? That's something worth thinking about. But I was thinking this spaceship is purely within the fantasy realm, so I'm not sure if that really was that important. But I enjoyed drawing a spaceship, and I also think that the alcohol markers kind of do well on a drawing, like a picture of a spaceship, for example, because I kind of think alcohol markers are very smooth and even, and they kind of, that's kind of where they excel, painting vehicles. And this picture that I'm drawing right here was for day 11, disgusting, as you probably saw on the bottom of the screen there. And this has got me thinking a little bit about that old question of, should artists talk about their work? You know, like if an artist like paints or draws something, or makes something in some other medium, you know, like a film or a piece of music or something like that, should the artist talk about it, or will them talking about it destroy the audience's or the kind of the viewer's enjoyment of the piece of art? That's an interesting topic. You see, I think I would steer more towards the side of artists not talking about their work too much. But I don't think it's like an absolute rule that they should never talk about their work. And because I'm kind of using YouTube to kind of, you know, to put my work up and stuff, and because I'm like making YouTube videos, that kind of almost creates a kind of, it almost means that I have to talk about my work, which is kind of, you know, a bit strange, you know. But I'm not sure if I always like talking about my work, you know. That's an issue. But then, if I'm not going to talk about my work, then what the heck do I talk about when I'm, you know, doing these voiceovers for these videos, you know? It's a bit of a strange thing. I remember in this drawing, I wasn't sure on how to do the floor, because on the one hand, I didn't want the floor to be too much of a reddy toned brown, because I didn't want it to clash with her dress. So I ended up making it really dark, and I think that was the right decision. But at the time, I was kind of like, "Oh God, am I making the floor way too dark?" You know, I put a lot of very, very dark, warm greys on the floor. You know, warm kind of sepia type greys on the floor that kind of, you know, saturated the kind of reddy browny colour that I'd put underneath. And what you're watching here is day 12, Slippery. For this day, for this word, I didn't want to do like another, you know, mutant or kind of slippery creature, because I'd already done that for the day disgusting. So I was kind of thinking of someone trying to balance on an object that's slippery, and then I kind of came up with this idea, which is the idea of a mischievous elf who lives in the forest in a tree, trying to kind of make the tree branch slippy for another elf. So he's kind of like rubbing butter on the tree branch there, so that other elf can't walk across it. And as you can see with this picture, I kind of altered it quite a lot after I'd transferred it across. Usually I try to have all my kind of layout and kind of basic the basic form of the characters all worked out when it's in the kind of oil pastel and coloured pencil stage, you know, the sketching stage. And when it's transferred onto the Bristol board, I'll try not to alter the you know, not to change it with the penciling too much. But with this one, I completely changed the elf that was balancing. I completely changed his arms because they just didn't look right. And I changed the arms of the guy who's rubbing the butter on the tree as well, because I thought his arms didn't look right either. Now, I think this is a picture that this is one of the pictures that I like more. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like in my top 5 favourites or anything, but it's one of the pictures that I like more out of the pictures that I did during Inktober, I would say. But I do remember when I was drawing it, I remember when it got to this stage and I had kind of all the leaves and the tree branches and stuff, but just with like a white background. I wasn't sure what colour to colour in the background. I was wanting a kind of purpley sky, but as you could see before, I tested the purple on the back of the card to sort of see how, see what the value was like and stuff like that. And I decided it was way too dark for a sky, really, and it would ruin it. And eventually what I did was I settled on using a kind of light rosy kind of pink as the sky colour, and then sort of like desaturating it with a kind of cool grey. I'm not sure whether that was the best decision, really. I wonder whether it might have been better to just leave the sky completely white, because everything sort of stood out a little bit more there. But I made the decision that I made, and you got to stick by it now. I remember with this one, I was kind of repeatedly. This is day 13, and the day is Dune, and Dune just made us think of I thought of Jodorowsky's Dune, the unmade film, which Alejandro Jodorowsky was originally going to make, but then it ended up not being made because the people who were funding it got kind of freaked out by how weird Alejandro Jodorowsky's idea was for that film, and how much time he was spending on the development and stuff, and apparently he'd already spent quite a lot of money on the development and stuff as well. So they ended up giving the film to David Lynch eventually, and that I haven't actually seen that film. I haven't actually seen the film Dune yet, but I have heard of I am a fan of Alejandro Jodorowsky, and so I am aware of the fact that Alejandro Jodorowsky was going to make a version of Dune, which was apparently going to be very, very different from David Lynch's version, and very, very different to the novel as well. And on that film, Jodorowsky had Mobius, a famous French comic book artist who he had worked with already on comics like the Incal, for example. Although actually I'm not sure when the Incal was written. It might have been written after, I'm not sure, but whatever. So the word Dune just made us think of that. So I was thinking of like a science fiction type thing, and almost like a Jodorowsky Mobius type story. So I ended up coming up with that like little alien character riding along through a desert on a dinosaur with the sand dunes behind. I think I might have seen similar things like that, like people riding dinosaurs in other science fiction films. So I think that picture might have been a kind of almost like a subliminal rip-off of some other like other science fiction things, but it wasn't like a conscious rip-off, if you know what I mean. Like it was, I think there was maybe a little bit of Star Wars in there, a little bit of some comics that were illustrated by Mobius, a little bit of a lot of different things in there, and kind of did the kind of blue alien type thing. Another interesting thing about that picture, actually, which is probably a bit weird to discuss now because obviously the video is gone past that picture now. But if you noticed before, that picture I did the sky with India ink rather than the alcohol markers that I've got. And the reason for that really is because I have a blue Copic marker, a light blue Copic marker, but I think the value of that light blue Copic marker is way too dark to do any skies. And you know, the thing about Copic markers, okay, is, well, as anybody who is familiar with them will know, they're very expensive. Yeah. I mean, to get like a box of them, like a little set of them, a set of like 12 Copic markers, it costs about 70 quid, which is quite a lot of money. Oh, by the way, that Day 14 was one of my favourites, actually. That was Armour, that one. That was one of my favourites. But yeah, the Copic markers, they cost quite a bit of money. So really what you would want is you would want to have like individual markers that you could do a lot with. You know what I mean? And there is some... how much you can do with them depends on what colour it is. Like, if you use a colour with a very light value, then you can do quite a lot of it with it, because obviously you can darken the value using the grey. If you get like a set of, you know, like the colourful Copic markers, and then you also have a set of the grey Copic markers, you can darken the value, you know. So that means that you can get quite a lot, like from a kind of shape and lighting point of view from one colour, you know, which is good. But then some of them are like really, really intense. Like, and by intense I mean like the value is just way too dark, so you can't lighten them. You know, like Copic markers aren't a kind of, they're not a light over dark type medium. You know, they're not like oil pastels where you can lighten dark colours with the white or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty much dark over light all the time. You know, so if you have a colour with a very dark value to start with, you can't really do much with it. So like, I have 4 sets of Copic markers, and I was hoping that would be the only set that I would, the only 4 sets that I would need to buy. And one of those sets is kind of hues, and it's a selection of hues, but some of them have got such dark value that you can't really do much with them, you know. And I was kind of wondering whether that's like, is that like a deliberate thing that Copic do to try and get you to like buy more markers, or is it just... it probably isn't. But anyway, this one actually, interestingly enough, this one was mainly done with India ink. I mainly did Day 15 Outpost with India ink. So it's weird that I was talking about Copic markers over that one, because that one was one of the ones that I mainly did with India ink. And India ink is something that I'm very, very new to. I've barely used it. I think that picture that you just saw there was like the second picture that I had ever done with India ink. But as Inktober went on, I started to use India ink more and more. Sometimes to good effect, but sometimes to like, I did some drawings that I really, really, really hated with India ink as well, which I'll get to later. So yeah, India ink is that's a different animal as well, you know. That's an interesting medium to draw with. But once again, we're way behind here, because what you can see on the screen here is Day 16 Rocket. And I think when I was drawing this, the thing I remember about this day is I think by the time I got to this stage and I was putting the colour on, I think I had started to get a pretty bad headache, actually, to be honest. Like, I mean, I tend to get headaches quite a lot when I'm drawing, actually. I don't know why that is. I kind of, I'd like to sort of see if there's a reason for that, but at the same time, at this, you know, in 2020, you're kind of like, you know, you kind of feel bad for bothering the doctors. You know, I don't want to like be calling up my doctor and bugging them about getting headaches when you know, when all this stuff's going on, you know. So, you know, yeah, but when I was drawing this, I had a particularly bad headache actually when I was adding the colour to this. Not like, it wasn't like top level bad. It wasn't like the worst that my headaches can get, but it was pretty bad. But anyway, that's day 16 rocket, and it's an anthropomorphic rocket eating a sandwich, and the sandwich has rocket in it. And this is the end of the video now. So yeah, you saw my Instagram handle flash up at the bottom there. You can go there and see more Inktober pictures, etc., etc., etc. And obviously there's that whole thing about you know, if you did like this video and you did actually manage to get to the end of it, and you didn't mind me rambling on, then yeah, why not like the video? You could click the like button, possibly even subscribe to the channel, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I've got about 103 subscribers at the minute, and I've still been intending to do something to celebrate that, but I haven't quite got round to it yet, but I will soon. So yeah, but anyway, goodbye, people.